Welcome back to Six Figure Health Coach. In this episode, we are going to dive into how to package your genius into a signature program. Now, in the last episode, we talked about the importance of a purpose-driven expert niche, that area, that zone of genius that is so soul satisfying for you to work in. And of course, that's where we start. But then, how do you deliver those results to people? And I'm going to share with you in this episode some of my best tips over the years of experience and working with many health coaches in addition to myself, and what has worked and what has not worked so well. Now, there is definitely more than one right answer when it comes to this. The key thing is knowing what your expert niche is. So once you know who you serve, who is your ideal client avatar, who is that one profile of that one person, and what is that problem that they have, and what is the solution that you deliver. Now, when you try to help everyone's everything, you get nothing. You can't help anyone's anything. So we want to be really specific. And that was the point of having that expert niche. So once we know that, once we know what the problem is that you're solving and you know what you're doing, if you don't know what you do, how do we expect your clients to? But when you know the problem that you're solving and you know where that person is at in their life, and you want to take into account that person, where are they at? Are they overwhelmed? Are they scared? Are they vulnerable? Are they nervous? Are they scattered? What is it? And how much do they already know about solving this? And how much are they struggling with? So really get into their head and know what is your starting point A. What is point A? And then really clearly define what is point B. What is the dream come true for your ideal client? What are they wanting? And what they say they're wanting before they've solved the problem can sometimes be different than what you know the problem to be. So, to the best of your ability, grab a pen and write down what is the problem that you solve for people, and then what is the solution that you deliver for people. Knowing those 2 points is really important. So what is that? And then what is the best way to get there? Now, if your client is a busy mom, maybe they got 5 kids, it is not the best idea to have them learn hormonal pathways or about the Krebs cycle or about any of those things before she can get some results. It's probably not a really good idea to have very complicated, time consuming, difficult to prepare recipes. She's going to want something easy. She's going to want something convenient. She's going to want something to make in batches. Now, on the other hand, if your client is maybe single and on their own and a foodie already, but maybe they have digestive issues and maybe they have a sophisticated palate and maybe they frequent health food stores, but they haven't been able to crack the code on this, well, then it might be appropriate to go into some of those other things. So it's really important that you know who this person is that you're helping and where they're at, and what is, then here's the question to ask yourself, what is the absolute best way that you know how to get her from point A, him or her, from point A to point B? How do we get them their best results? And you just can do your best. You give it your best idea. That is something that you can be 100% committed to. But your best is always going to get better. It will always evolve. But that's all that you can do is your best. So what is your best idea? And I will guarantee you, as soon as you run clients through your program, they will show you how to make it better. You might have said something that seemed obvious. So last episode, I was talking about Tim, who helps single diabetic dads. And in one of those early modules that he created for his clients, he talked about green smoothies. And people raised their hands. These guys raised their hands and said, "What's a green smoothie?" Now, Tim had been having green smoothies every day for 20 years. And he just assumed everybody knew what that was, not these guys. So they wanted a recipe. He goes, Okay, all right. I can give you a recipe. Sure. I don't use a recipe, but sure, fine. So subsequently, he included a recipe for it. So they will show you areas, or sometimes you might have at the beginning them complete a really long, complicated form. And then you find that they're not turning any of the forms in. Maybe that's not the best way. So you want to meet them where they're at. Maybe what's better is to hop on a call with them or hop on a Zoom with them and ask them the questions live, because maybe they don't have a lot of time in between your sessions. So be open to doing it better, but give them the best way that you know how. Now, a couple of clues to knowing the best way to solve the problem is this is an area you've picked a niche that you have a track record in. So you might already know what is the best idea. So maybe the best idea is to do an elimination diet. Maybe the best idea is to go cold turkey on that, because you want to get rid of the gluten, the dairy, and all of those things that are triggering, so they can get rid of inflammation, so they can get out of pain really fast. That might be the case. So for a niche that's like Crohn's disease or something like that, that's going to be very important to get them feeling relief. Don't hold off the relief forever. But maybe you have somebody who's, maybe your clientele's in their late 60s and they just want a little bit more energy. They just maybe lose 5 pounds, but they're kind of looking for meaning in their life. They're looking for like that next chapter. That's kind of where they're at. They're looking for that meaningful purpose and that fun thing to, now that they have time maybe to devote to themselves, now that's where they're wanting to direct, and that's what they're looking for. So sometimes doing a cold turkey elimination diet, get rid of all the foods that they love that weren't actually causing a problem for them, is not the best idea. So one size doesn't fit all when it comes to these programs. Now, what about length of time for programs? Again, this can be variable, but generally shorter is better. Somewhere around the 90-day trimester season length works best. So about 3 months, 12 weeks, 90 days is a good measure of time where you can teach them pretty much everything you know. Now, you won't be able to get them all the way there, but you can get them a good chunk of the way there. So for example, let's say somebody needs to lose 100 pounds. 90 days is about as long as they can focus anyways. And yet they can get some results, but they can't lose the whole 100 pounds in those 90 days. But you could teach them everything you need to teach them in those 90 days. And the great thing about the reason why 90 days works, it just keeps coming up. You'll hear 90-day boot camps and challenges. 30 days is another common one. But that 90 days, what I observed working with people for 6 months, and that could work if it's working for you and you're getting where you want to go, great. But what I found is halfway through, they needed reinvigoration. And nowadays, people are on it's like a microwave society. They want results fast, fast, fast. And what I observed, and maybe it's because I live in Canada where we have, in an area where we have 4 distinct seasons, as the seasons changed, so did they. So all of a sudden, summer would hit and they'd be off to the lake, or all of a sudden it would be back to school and they would have to, you know, focus on their kids and their activities. So as the seasons changed, their focus changed anyways. So that doesn't mean there's not a place for you in that season, but 90 days is about as long as we can focus. We'll see that in business quarters. We'll see that in trimesters of pregnancies. It's a natural thing anyways. So somewhere in there, 5 to 12 weeks. 12 weeks is on the outside of that, is a good length of time to have a signature program. But what about the fact that you can't get them all the way there in 3 months? That's true for many niches, but you do want to give them the best results as fast as you can. As I say, if somebody's in pain, don't make them wait a year to get great results. Get them out of pain as quickly as you can. But after you've got them relief, let's take the weight loss example. He's lost some weight. He knows what to do. The moment that you let go of his hand and he's now on his own trying to lose weight, there's a good chance that he's not going to be able to keep that going the rest of the way there. You've told him everything, but there's a difference between knowing what to do. Most people know, eat more vegetables and, move more. but they aren't doing it. Drink more water. They know these things, but they're not actually doing that. So that support, that accountability, now we can stretch it out to say a year and help support them to really ingrain those healthy habits. So you teach them everything, and then some of them, and you might after 3 months, it's a minimal commitment for you too. You might say, that was enough time and it's time to move on. So, but for some people, you just like, you get really vibe, you want to stay working together, and so that you could support them over the year. So you can do that. That's how you can have the best of all worlds. The thing that is a challenge when we give the client the option to pick what is best for them, they don't always pick what is best for them. When we give them the option to pick the best way to get the results, they don't know usually. If they did, they would have done it by now. So instead, offer your one best way and then have that lead into advanced support if they so desire. But don't hold back. Give them everything you got, as much as you can, right from the first moment that you see them. Give them everything. Don't hold back. That would be the message. So, my other tip when you're creating your program where you're supporting people is start with the things that give them the biggest result, and start with an assessment. You know, when I was coaching people, I got to the point when we would start, I would say, look, you're going to lose 20 pounds and you're going to tell me this isn't working. And they're like, oh, no, I'd never do that. And we would be partway through, and that's what they would say. Now I often tell people, you're going to get to 60,000 and you're going to tell me this isn't working. Oh, no, I'd never do that. But what happens is you take the person who's losing weight, they lose 5 pounds. They're all excited. They think you're wonderful and amazing. And then they lose another 1 pound and they're excited. And then they go for a week where they don't lose much. And then they gain 1 pound and then they gain another two. And then they lose 3 pounds and then they gain one and then lose one and then gain one and then just keep staying the same. And then I, I didn't keep track of my math there, but at the end of that, they're like, this just isn't working. And when we look back, they've lost 20 pounds. So it's really important right up front when you're working with people, regardless of what configuration you have as a program, get them to take a baseline picture, get them to journal about it. What is their starting point? That's so important. So important. People will acclimatize to the new normal. They think that when they get there, it'll feel really different, but it happens gradually and they get used to it, and they forget how far they come. They forget what a brain fog they had. They forget how sleep deprived they were. They forgot how much energy they didn't have. So you will see that too. So take a baseline assessment, give them the easy things to do. My biggest tip is drink water. I get people to drink water on their first lesson. Their first module is drink water because it's easy to do. Almost nobody's doing it enough, and it's easy for them to track. And it helps get them results because their water is replacing their coffee, their sugar, their wine, their alcohol, their other sugary drinks. And it's an anti-ager. It helps hydrate their skin. Their skin gets better. It starts to dilute out some of the other foods. They start to eat less because most of the time they were thirsty anyways, not hungry, and they misinterpreted the cues. Just getting them to drink water. It's just simple to do for the busiest person on the planet. They can still do it. They should be doing it, and it can start to have them feel better. They can get that mental clarity. So that simple step is key. So keep it easy, and give them just what they need to know, and give them the most concrete things right up front. And then towards the end of your program, you can dive into some of those more esoteric things that are icings on the top, the supplements, the spirituality aspects. Depends what your niche is. That could be the whole core of it. But package it and own it. Just own those things. When you look back at what worked for you, include some of those things in your program. And the most important thing as you're creating your signature program is come from love. Keep your ideal client firmly in front of you. Know exactly who that person is and offer your absolute best solution as if it was your best friend or your most treasured love, what would you do for them to get them the absolute best results as quickly and as easily as possible? And continually work to make it better and better and better. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have questions about your signature program, head on over to drshaunna.com or post them in the comments. Did you like this episode? What are your ideas for your signature program? How do you best like to deliver that? Join us in the next episode where we're talking about leveraging your time to avoid burnout. You can have a great niche, you can have a great program, but you can still burn yourselves out without leverage. So let's talk about that. We'll see you in the next episode. Have a fantastic week. And of course, be good for you.